The Galactic Unity Academy was the most famous school in the known universe. It stood on a planet called Nexus Prime, far away from Earth, in a part of space that humans had only recently learned about. The academy was huge. Its buildings were made of crystal that caught the light of 3 different suns, and its towers reached so high into the purple sky that birds from other worlds made nests in their peaks. Students came to this academy from 47 different species. They came from planets with names that human tongues could barely pronounce. They came to learn how to be leaders, warriors, diplomats, and peacekeepers. The academy had existed for 10,000 years, and in all that time, it had produced the greatest minds and the bravest soldiers the galaxy had ever known. Lily Morgan was not supposed to be there. She was human, and humans were new. Earth had only been discovered by the Galactic Council 5 years ago, when a trading ship had accidentally jumped into the wrong sector and found a small blue planet full of creatures who had just barely figured out how to leave their own atmosphere. They had been surprised. The humans had been terrified. And then, slowly, carefully, the 2 species had begun to talk. The talks led to treaties. The treaties led to exchange programs. And the exchange programs led to Lily Morgan standing alone in a hallway of the Galactic Unity Academy, wondering if she had made the biggest mistake of her life. She was 20 years old, which was young by human standards, but practically an infant by galactic ones. Some of her classmates were 300 years old. Some of them had been studying combat and diplomacy since before Lily's great-great-grandparents were born. They looked at her with curiosity, with confusion, and sometimes with something that looked a lot like pity. Lily did not want pity. She had come here to learn. She had come here to become strong. She had come here because of what had happened in Chicago. The memory hit her like it always did, sudden and sharp, like a knife sliding between her ribs. She stopped walking and pressed her hand against the cool crystal wall, waiting for the feeling to pass. It always passed. It just took time. 3 years ago, the Raiders had come to Earth. They were not part of the Galactic Council. They were pirates, slavers, and murderers who traveled from system to system, taking what they wanted and destroying what they did not need. Earth was supposed to be protected by the Council's treaties, but they did not care about treaties. They cared about resources, and Earth had plenty of those. They came to Chicago first. Lily had been 17 years old, a senior in high school, worried about college applications and weekend plans. She had been walking home from school with her little brother Danny when the sky turned red and the ships came down. The attack lasted 6 hours. In those 6 hours, 523,841 people died. Lily knew the exact number because she had memorized it. She had memorized every single name, too, though it had taken her 2 years to do it. She had written them on her body, tattooed over the scars that they had given her, so that she would never forget. The scars ran down the right side of her face, 3 parallel lines from her temple to her jaw. They also covered her left arm, from shoulder to wrist, a mess of raised tissue where a blade had cut her again and again while she tried to protect her brother. Danny had survived. He was 15 now, living with their aunt in what was left of Chicago, going to school and playing video games and trying to be a normal teenager. He wrote to Lily every week, long messages full of jokes and complaints, and the kind of ordinary problems that Lily wished she still had. She had not told him how hard the academy was. She had not told him about the students who laughed at her, or the professors who seemed surprised every time she answered a question correctly, or the loneliness that wrapped around her like a cold blanket every night when she went asleep. She had especially not told him about. Lily took a deep breath and pushed herself away from the wall. The feeling had passed, like it always did. She had classes to attend and lessons to learn. She did not have time to stand in hallways feeling sorry for herself. The academy was busy today. Students hurried past her in both directions, their various bodies and shapes and sizes creating a river of color and movement. Lily saw with their silver skin and large black eyes. She saw who seemed to be made entirely of living gemstone. She saw thornbacks with their armored plates and whispers who floated rather than walked, and dozens of other species whose names she was still learning. None of them spoke to her. That was normal. Humans were strange to them, small and fragile and short-lived. Most galactic species lived for centuries. Some lived for thousands of years. Humans were lucky to reach 100, and that made them seem like mayflies to beings who measured their lives in. Lily understood why they kept their distance. Why invest time in getting to know someone who would be dead before you finished your first century? Why form friendships with creatures who burned so briefly? She understood it, but it still hurt. Her first class of the day was combat theory, taught by Professor, a being who looked like a floating mass of tentacles with too many eyes, was ancient, even by galactic standards, and had fought in wars that happened before humans discovered fire. The professor was patient with Lily, explaining concepts that other students had learned as children, but there was always a hint of something in those many eyes. Surprise, maybe, or disbelief that a human had actually made it this far. Lily found her seat near the back of the classroom and pulled out her tablet. The classroom was shaped like a half-circle, with rows of seats rising up toward the back and a large holographic display in the center where would show examples and demonstrations. The seats were designed to accommodate many different body types, and Lily's human-shaped chair looked small and fragile next to the massive stone throne, where a thornback student was settling his armored bulk. She was reviewing her notes from the last class when the room went quiet. Lily looked up. Had arrived. He walked into the classroom like he owned it, which in a way he did. His father was a member of the Galactic Council, one of the 12 beings who made decisions that affected trillions of lives across 1,000 star systems. His family had been nobility for longer than humanity had been walking upright. He was wealthy, powerful, connected, and absolutely certain that he was better than everyone around him. Especially Lily. Was one of the elder races that had been part of galactic civilization since the beginning. He stood 8 feet tall, his body covered in smooth blue skin that shifted toward purple when he was emotional. He had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on his face, and each eye could see in spectrums that humans could not even imagine. His arms were long and powerful, ending in hands with 6 fingers each, and his legs bent backward at the knee like a bird's. He was beautiful in his way. Many of the students thought so. He moved with a grace that seemed impossible for someone so large, and his voice was deep and melodic, the kind of voice that made you want to listen even when he was saying terrible things. He was saying terrible things now. Had spotted Lily the moment he entered the room, and he changed direction to walk past her seat. His 2 companions followed him, a female named and a male named. They were always with him, laughing at his jokes and agreeing with his opinions and generally making Lily's life more difficult. "Well, well," said, his voice carrying through the quiet classroom. "The little human is still here. I thought for certain you would have given up by now." Lily did not look up from her tablet. "Good morning." "Is it? I had not noticed." He leaned against the desk next to hers, his long body folding with that impossible grace. "I was too distracted by the smell. Tell me, is that a human thing? Do you all smell like that, or is it just you?" Giggled, smiled his thin smile. Lily continued to focus on her notes. She had learned that engaging with only made things worse. He wanted a reaction. He wanted to see her angry or upset or afraid. If she stayed calm, sometimes he got bored and went away. Sometimes. "I was reading about Earth last night," continued, settling more comfortably against the desk. "Fascinating planet, so many wars, so much death. You humans seem to enjoy killing each other. Tell me, is that why they found you so easy to slaughter? Were you too busy murdering your own kind to notice the ships coming down?" Lily's hand tightened on her tablet. She forced herself to relax. "The Chicago collapse," said, his voice dropping to something almost like sympathy. "That is what you call it, yes. Such a gentle name for such a brutal event. 500,000 dead in a single day. And you were there, were you not? I can see the scars. He reached out one long blue finger and traced the air beside her face, following the lines of her wounds. Do they hurt? He asked. I have always wondered if humans feel pain the way real species do. Your nervous systems are so primitive. Perhaps you simply do not have the capacity for true suffering. Lily looked up at him then, and something in her eyes made him pause. I feel pain, she said quietly. Would you like me to show you how much? For a moment something flickered in his four eyes. Surprise, maybe, or uncertainty. Then it was gone, replaced by his usual smug amusement. Threats, he laughed, looking at his companions. The little human is making threats. How adorable. Someone should tell her that we have been warriors since before her species learned to stand upright. I have been training in combat since I was 10 years old. That is 200 years of experience, little human. What do you have? A few months of classes and some scars from running away. Lily said nothing. She simply looked at him, her dark eyes steady, her face calm. Professor chose that moment to enter the classroom, tentacles flowing and eyes blinking, and was forced to take his seat. He gave Lily one last look, a promise that this conversation was not over, and moved away with his companions trailing behind him. Lily turned back to her tablet, but she was not seeing the notes anymore. She was seeing Chicago. She was seeing fire falling from the sky and buildings crumbling and people running and screaming and dying. She was seeing her brother's face, covered in dust and blood, as she dragged him through the rubble. She was seeing the who had cut her. It had been standing over her, blade raised for the killing blow, when something happened. To this day, Lily was not sure what. Maybe it was adrenaline. Maybe it was rage. Maybe it was something deeper, something that humans had carried in their blood since the days when they hunted mammoths and fought saber-toothed tigers with nothing but sharpened sticks. Whatever it was, it had given her the strength to grab a piece of rebar from the rubble and drive it through this throat. The second one had come at her from the side. She killed that one too, with her bare hands and her teeth, and a fury that she had not known she possessed. The third one was the one that got her. Its blade had found her arm, her face, her ribs, cutting again and again, while she tried to shield Danny with her body. She should have died. She would have died if the Council's response ships had not arrived when they did, driving the away and filling the sky with light instead of fire. She had woken up in a hospital 3 days later, her body held together by bandages and machines. Her first thought a single desperate question. Danny, where was Danny? He was alive. He was safe. He was sitting beside her bed, crying, holding her hand like he would never let go. That was when Lily had made her decision. She would never be helpless again. She would never watch her people die while she could do nothing to stop it. She would learn everything the galaxy had to teach, and she would become strong enough to protect everyone she loved. That was why she was here. That was why she endured cruelty and the other students' indifference and the professor's surprised looks. That was why she got up every morning and trained until her muscles screamed, why she studied until her eyes burned, why she pushed herself harder and further and faster than anyone thought a human could go. Because of Chicago, because of Danny, because of 523,841 names tattooed on her skin. Professor began the lecture, tentacles weaving patterns in the air as the holographic display lit up with tactical formations and battle strategies. Lily forced herself to focus, taking notes with one hand while the other rested on her arm. The names were hidden under her sleeve, but she could feel them. She always felt them. They were why she was here. And they were why she would never give up. The lecture lasted 2 hours. Professor covered advanced defensive formations, the kind used when a smaller force needed to hold ground against a larger enemy. Lily found it fascinating. The strategies were not that different from the ones used in human military history, just scaled up for space combat, and adapted for species with abilities humans did not have. She took detailed notes, filling her tablet with diagrams and observations. A few times, asked questions, and Lily answered them correctly. The professor's many eyes blinked with something that might have been approval. Answered questions too, of course. He was brilliant in his way. His answers were always correct, always detailed, always delivered with a confidence that bordered on arrogance. The other students nodded along, impressed by his knowledge and his presence and his family name. Lily noticed that he never volunteered new ideas. He only repeated things that had already taught, just rephrased in more elegant language. He was good at memorizing and regurgitating, but she had never seen him actually think about something in a new way. She filed that observation away for later. It might be useful someday. When the lecture ended, students began filing out of the classroom. Lily gathered her things slowly, hoping that would leave with the crowd and she could avoid another confrontation. She was not that lucky. Was waiting for her outside the door, leaning against the crystal wall with his arms crossed and his 4 eyes fixed on the exit, and flanked him, as always. "I have been thinking," said as Lily emerged, "about what you said earlier, about showing me how much pain you feel." Lily kept walking. "I have another class. This will only take a moment." He fell into step beside her, his long legs easily matching her pace. "I am curious, you see. Humans are so new to the galaxy. We know so little about you, your biology, your psychology, your limitations. Consider this an educational exercise." Lily did not respond. "For example," continued, "I have read that humans have something called adrenaline, a hormone that activates in times of stress, yes. It makes you stronger and faster temporarily, but it also causes long-term damage to your bodies. Interesting trade-off. I wonder if that is why your species dies so young. You burn yourselves out." They had reached a junction in the corridor, and Lily turned left toward her next class. Turned with her. "I have also read about human psychology," he said. "Your attachment to each other is remarkable. Familial bonds, romantic relationships, friendships. You form connections so easily, so quickly. It must be because you have so little time. You cannot afford to be patient." Lily's jaw tightened. She knew where this was going. "Your brother, for instance." His voice dropped to that false sympathetic tone again. "Danny, yes. I looked him up. He lives in Chicago still with your aunt. He goes to something called high school. He plays something called basketball. Such an ordinary little life for the brother of the Academy's famous human." Lily stopped walking. "What did you say?" Smiled. His blue skin shifted slightly toward purple, the sign of pleasure. "I said I looked him up. It was not difficult. Human records are remarkably accessible, did you know that? Your species has no concept of information security. I know where Danny lives, where he goes to school, who his friends are. I even know that he still has nightmares about the collapse. He has mentioned it in several of his social media posts." Lily turned to face him. Her heart was pounding, but her voice was steady. "If you threaten my brother," she said quietly, "I will kill you." The corridor went silent. Students who had been passing by stopped to stare, even and looked uncertain. Laughed, but there was an edge to it now. "Kill me? Little human, you could not kill a thornback larva, let alone a warrior. I have been training in combat since before your grandfather was born. You are nothing to me. You are less than nothing. You are a curiosity, an experiment, a primitive creature who somehow stumbled into a place where she does not belong." Lily did not blink. "I killed 2 raiders when I was 17 years old," she said. "With a piece of metal in my bare hands. I was bleeding out from wounds that should have killed me, and I still took them down. Do you want to know what I was thinking when I did it?" Smile flickered. "I was thinking about my brother. I was thinking that if I died, there would be no one to protect him. And that thought made me stronger than anything you can imagine." She stepped closer to him, and to his own shock he stepped back. You are right that I am small. You are right that I am weak. You are right that I will be dead in 60 or 70 years while you are still in your prime. But I promise you this. If you ever threaten my brother again, I will find a way to hurt you. I do not care how long it takes or what it costs me. I will find a way." For a long moment, nobody moved. Then laughed again, and this time it sounded almost genuine. "Remarkable," he said, "truly remarkable. The little human has spirit after all. I was beginning to think you were nothing but scars and silence." He stepped back, giving her space, his 4 eyes studying her with something new. Not respect, exactly, but interest, like she had transformed from a boring specimen into something worth examining. "We will continue this conversation later," he said. "I find myself curious about you, Lily Morgan, more curious than I expected." He turned and walked away and hurrying to catch up. Lily watched him go, her hands trembling at her sides. She had shown too much. She knew that. The academy had rules about threats, and if reported her, she could be expelled. Everything she had worked for, everything she had suffered could be taken away because she had let him get under her skin. But he had mentioned Danny. That was the one thing she could not allow. Danny was innocent. Danny was safe back on Earth, living his ordinary life, healing from the collapse in his own way. He did not deserve to be dragged into Lily's problems. He did not deserve to be threatened by an alien bully who thought humans were toys. Lily forced herself to breathe, in and out, in and out. The anger was still there, burning in her chest like a coal that would not go out. But she pushed it down, locked it away, saved it for when it would be useful. Because that was what humans did. They took their pain and their rage and their fear and they turned it into fuel. They burned, yes, but they burned bright enough to light up the darkness. She was going to be late for her next class. Lily turned and walked away, her face calm, her bandaged arm held close to her side. She had a lot to learn, and she was running out of time. The rest of the day passed in a blur of classes and lectures and practical exercises. Lily threw herself into every task, pushing her body and mind to their limits. In weapons training, she practiced with energy blades until her arms shook. In xenobiology, she memorized the anatomy of 12 different species. In diplomacy, she studied the history of treaties that had kept the peace for. By the time the 3 suns set behind the crystal spires, she was exhausted. Her quarters were small, designed for a single human occupant. The academy had not known quite what to do with her when she arrived, so they had converted a storage closet into a living space. It had a bed, a desk, a small bathroom, and a window that looked out over the academy's gardens. Lily stood at that window now, watching the last light fade from the sky. The gardens were beautiful at night. Bioluminescent plants glowed in shades of blue and green and gold, and creatures from a dozen different worlds flew between them, their wings catching the light. She should have been amazed. She should have been grateful. She was standing on another planet, looking at wonders that no human had ever seen before. Instead, she just felt tired. Her tablet beeped with an incoming message, "Danny." She smiled despite herself and opened the connection. His face appeared on the screen, round and young and so achingly familiar. "Hey sis," he said, "how is space?" "Big," Lily replied, "how is Earth?" "Small," he grinned. "Coach says I might make varsity next year. Can you believe that, me on varsity?" "I can believe it. You have been working hard." They talked for an hour about nothing important. Basketball and homework and a girl Danny liked but was too shy to talk to. Normal things, human things. Lily did not mention. She did not mention the threats or the fear or the anger that still burned in her chest. Danny did not need to know. Danny needed to believe that his sister was doing fine, that she was learning and growing and becoming someone who could protect him. Even if it was not entirely true. When the call ended, Lily sat in the darkness of her small room and thought about everything that had happened. She thought about with his four eyes and his ancient arrogance and his casual cruelty. She thought about the other students, who kept their distance because they did not understand what it meant to be human. She thought about the professors, who taught her patiently but never seemed to expect her to succeed. And she thought about herself, about the scared girl who had crawled out of the rubble of Chicago with her brother in her arms, about the angry young woman who had trained and studied and pushed herself until she earned a place at the most prestigious academy in the galaxy, about the person she was becoming, forged in fire and pain and determination. She was not the strongest student at the academy. She was not the or the fastest or the most talented. She was just a human, small and fragile and short-lived, trying to prove that she belonged in a universe that did not want her. But she had something that, and the others did not understand. She had the names. Lily rolled up her sleeve and looked at the tattoos that covered her arm. 523,841 names, written in tiny letters that spiraled from her shoulder to her wrist. She could not read them all without magnification, but she knew they were there. She felt them always, a weight that she carried with her everywhere she went. These were the people she had failed to save. These were the people who drove her forward. These were the people who would never let her quit. "I will not forget," she whispered to the names in the darkness. "I will never forget." Tomorrow she would get up again. She would train again. She would endorse cruelty again. She would push herself to the breaking point and beyond because that was what humans did. They bent, they bled, they fell down. And then they got back up. Lily lay down on her small bed and closed her eyes. Sleep came slowly, interrupted by dreams of fire and screaming, and a blue-skinned face laughing at her wounds. But when morning came, she rose. She always rose. The next few weeks followed a pattern that Lily was beginning to recognize. Classes in the morning, training in the afternoon, studying in the evening. Harassment came and went like a tide, sometimes overwhelming and sometimes barely noticeable. The other students continued to keep their distance, though a few had begun nodding to her in the hallways. Progress, she supposed. Slow progress, but progress nonetheless. She was getting stronger. She could feel it in her muscles, in her reflexes, in the way her body responded to the demands she placed on it. The Academy's training programs were designed for species far more durable than humans, and at first she had struggled to keep up. Now she was matching the pace, even exceeding it in some areas. The professors had noticed. Professor had commented on her improvement in combat theory. Master, the weapons instructor, had called her techniques surprisingly effective. Even the diplomacy professor, a being made of pure energy named Ambassador, had praised her understanding of negotiation strategies. Had noticed, too. His harassment became more pointed as Lily's success became more obvious. He mocked her achievements, calling them luck or favoritism or proof that humans were graded on a curve. He spread rumors that she was cheating, that she had help from Earth's government, that she was sleeping with professors. None of it was true, but that did not matter. Rumors spread fast in a closed community, and soon Lily found even the students who had started nodding to her keeping their distance again. She did not let it stop her. She could not afford to let it stop her. One evening, after a particularly brutal training session, Lily was walking back to her quarters when she encountered something unexpected. A fight. It was happening in one of the smaller courtyards, a space surrounded by crystal walls that muffled sound. Two students were circling each other, their bodies tense, their fists raised. One was a thornback, massive and armored, easily twice Lily's size. The other was much smaller, a being that Lily did not immediately recognize. Then she saw the silver skin and large black eyes. It was and not just any. It was his companion, one of the two beings who followed him everywhere, laughing at his jokes and agreeing with his insults. Lily had assumed was the same as cruel and arrogant and untouchable. but here he was, facing a thornback alone with no one to help him. The thornback swung first, a massive fist that could have crushed bone, dodged barely, his smaller body twisting out of the way at the last moment. He tried to counter, but the thornback's armor deflected his blow. They circled again. Lily should have kept walking, was not her friend. He was not even her acquaintance. He was one of his people, part of the group that had made her life miserable since she arrived. But something made her stop. Maybe it was the look on his face. Fear, yes, but also determination. A refusal to back down even when the odds were impossible. It reminded her of something. The thornback attacked again, and this time was too slow. The blow caught him in the chest and sent him flying across the courtyard. He hit the crystal wall hard and slumped to the ground. The thornback advanced, its stone-like face showing no emotion. "This is what happens," it said, its voice like grinding boulders, "when forget their place." It raised its fist for another blow. Lily moved without thinking. She put herself between and the thornback, her small human body standing in the path of that massive stone fist. The thornback stopped, surprised. "Move, human," it said. "This does not concern you." "Probably not," Lily agreed, "but I am not moving." The thornback studied her. Its eyes, small and dark in its massive head, took in her face and her bandaged arm and her calm expression. "You are the Earth One," it said. "The primitive, why would you protect us? They are nothing to you." "He is a student at this academy," Lily said. "Same as me, same as you. He insulted my clan. He mocked our traditions. He deserves punishment." Lily glanced back at who was struggling to sit up. His silver skin was darker where bruises were forming, and one of his large eyes was swelling shut. "Did you?" she asked him. Coughed, silver blood staining his lips. "I may have made a comment about thornback mating rituals. I did not realize they took them so seriously." Lily sighed, of course. "He apologizes," she said to the thornback. "I do?" asked. "You do." Lily's voice left no room for argument. "He apologizes for insulting your clan and your traditions. He was ignorant and thoughtless, and he regrets his words." The thornback considered this. Its massive fist slowly lowered. "Ignorance is not an excuse," it said. "No," Lily agreed. "But it is an explanation. And if you beat him to death, you will be expelled, and your clan will lose the honor of having a student at this academy. Is one thoughtless comment worth that?" For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the thornback turned and walked away. Lily let out a breath she had not realized she was holding. Her heart was pounding, her hands were shaking, and she was fairly certain she had just done something very stupid. But was alive. She turned to help him up, but he was staring at her with an expression she could not read. "Why?" he asked. "Why what? Why did you help me? I have not been kind to you." Lily considered the question. She was not sure she knew the answer herself. "Because someone should have," she said finally, "and no one else was going to." She held out her hand. After a moment, took it, and she helped him to his feet. "You are strange," he said, "for a human. You are not the first person to tell me that." Laughed, then winced as the movement aggravated his injuries. "I suppose not." They stood there in the courtyard, the two of them, as the last light of the three suns faded behind the crystal walls. "Will not be pleased," said quietly, "when he hears about this. I know. He does not like it when people interfere with his projects. I know." Looked at her, really looked at her, and something in his expression shifted. "You are not what I expected," he said. "When they told us a human was coming, we all thought, well, we thought you would be like the stories, weak, primitive, easy to break. And now," smiled, and for the first time, it did not look mocking or cruel. "Now I am not sure what to think." He walked away, limping slightly, leaving Lily alone in the courtyard with her thoughts. She had made an enemy today, or maybe she had made something else. It was hard to tell. But as she walked back to her quarters, Lily found herself smiling. For the first time since she arrived at the academy, she did not feel quite so alone. The next morning, Lily woke to find a message waiting on her tablet. It was from the academy administration. She had been summoned to the dean's office. This was not good. The dean of the Galactic Unity Academy was a being named High Magistrate. Lily had never met him directly, but she knew his reputation. He was old, even by galactic standards, a member of a species called the Eternals who were said to be among the first intelligent beings in the universe. He had led the Academy for 3,000 years, guiding it through wars and plagues and political upheavals. He did not summon students to his office for casual conversations. Lily dressed quickly and made her way through the Academy's corridors. The other students gave her curious looks as she passed. Word must have spread about the confrontation in the courtyard. Word always spread. The dean's office was at the top of the central tower, accessible only by a lift that required special authorization. Lily provided her student identification, and the lift began to rise. The journey took several minutes. The tower was tall, and the lift moved slowly, giving her time to think about all the ways this meeting could go wrong. She had intervened in a conflict between students. That was against regulations. She had threatened a thornback, even if she had not actually touched it. That was also against regulations. And worst of all, she had done it to protect one of his companions, which meant almost certainly knew about it. By the time the lift reached the top, Lily had convinced herself that she was about to be expelled. The doors opened onto a space that took her breath away. The dean's office was not really an office at all. It was a garden, open to the sky, filled with plants and creatures from every corner of the galaxy. Flowers bloomed in colors that hurt to look at. Birds sang in frequencies that made her bones vibrate. A waterfall cascaded down one wall, but instead of water, it was made of pure light. In the center of it all sat High Magistrate. He was unlike anything Lily had ever seen. His body seemed to be made of folded space, with dimensions that her eyes could not quite follow. Sometimes he looked like an old man with kind eyes. Sometimes he looked like a pillar of fire. Sometimes he looked like nothing at all, just a presence that filled the air. "Lily Morgan," he said, and his voice was like music and thunder and the distant echo of stars. "Please sit down." A chair appeared beside her, simple and human-shaped. Lily sat because she did not know what else to do. "You are probably wondering why I called you here," said. "Yes, sir. You intervened in a conflict last night, protected a student who has not treated you kindly, faced down a thornback warrior with nothing but your words and your presence. The being that was seemed to smile. That was either very brave or very foolish." "I'm not sure which," Lily admitted. "Neither am I, but I think we are going to find out." He leaned forward, or at least the part of him that could lean forward did so. "Tell me, Lily Morgan, why did you come to this academy?" Lily thought about lying. She thought about giving him the official answer, the one she had written on her application. To learn, to grow, to serve the Galactic Council. But something about made lying seem impossible. "Because of Chicago," she said. "Because I watched 500,000 people die and I could not stop it. Because I never want to feel that helpless again." Ah nodded, or maybe it was a ripple in the fabric of reality. "Revenge, then." "No," Lily shook her head. "Not revenge, protection. I want to be strong enough to protect the people I love. I want to be smart enough to see threats coming before they arrive. I want to be prepared. And if being prepared means becoming something you do not like, something hard and cold and willing to do terrible things." Lily thought about the question seriously. "Then I will become that," she said finally. "If that is what it takes, but I will try to find another way first." Was silent for a long moment. The garden around them seemed to hold its breath. "You are an interesting creature, Lily Morgan," he said at last. "Your species is so young, so fragile, so short-lived, and yet there is something in you that burns, something that refuses to be extinguished." He rose, or maybe he expanded, or maybe the world shifted around him. "I am not going to punish you for what happened last night. The Thornback has agreed that the matter is settled and has begun to reconsider his choices. That is punishment enough for a young." Lily let out a breath of relief. "However," continued, "I want you to understand something. The path you are walking is dangerous, not just physically but spiritually. You are burning yourself up from the inside, Lily Morgan. The names on your arm, the scars on your face, the anger in your heart. They are fuel, yes, but fuel burns, and if you are not careful, there will be nothing left of you but ash." Lily touched her bandaged arm unconsciously. "I know," she said quietly. Do you really?" Moved closer, and his presence was overwhelming, like standing in the heart of a sun. "I have lived for longer than your species has existed. I have seen empires rise and fall, stars born and die, civilizations bloom and wither. And in all that time, the beings who burned were always the ones who burned out fastest." He reached out, and something that might have been a hand touched her face gently. "You have a choice, Lily Morgan. You can continue on this path, burning and burning until there is nothing left. Or you can find another way. A way that does not require you to destroy yourself in order to protect others." "What way is that?" Lily asked. Smiled, and for a moment, he looked almost human. "I do not know. That is for you to discover, but I have faith that you will find it. There is something in humans, something I have not seen in many other species. A capacity for both tremendous destruction and tremendous creation. You carry the potential for both within you." He stepped back, and the overwhelming presence faded. "Go to your classes, Lily Morgan. Learn, grow, become whatever you are meant to become. But remember what I have told you. The flames cast the darkest shadows." Lily stood, her legs unsteady. "Thank you," she said, though she was not sure what she was thanking him for. "Do not thank me yet," replied. "We will speak again, you and I, when the time comes." The lift doors opened behind her, an unmistakable invitation to leave. Lily walked toward them, then paused. "High Magistrate." "Yes." "He has been targeting me since I arrived. Will that stop?" Was silent for a moment. "Is the son of a council member," he said finally. "He is powerful, connected, and protected by ancient laws that even I must respect. I cannot make him stop." Lily's heart sank, but continued, "I can tell you this. They believe they are superior to all other species. They have believed this for 10,000 years, and nothing has ever challenged that belief. Perhaps it is time something did." He turned away, his impossible body folding back into the garden. "Perhaps it is time for someone to remind them that strength comes in many forms, and that the smallest flame can sometimes ignite the largest fire." Lily stepped into the lift, her mind racing. As the doors closed, she heard his voice one last time. "Good luck, Lily Morgan. I have a feeling you are going to need it." The lift descended, and Lily began to plan. She had a lot of work to do.